two. All right. Hello, good morning. It is Wednesday, February 19th. I'm Rob, thatDeveloperDad, and we're building applications in C Sharp and .NET and Blazor for the front end. Yesterday, I got the ability score stats generating. I got hit points, armor class, and initiative modifiers able to calculate when we do the random generation of the NPCs. And I plumbed getting that data from the generator class all the way out to the UI, but I didn't get to create those Blazor components during yesterday afternoon's stream. That said, I was really eager to get them showing up in the UI, so I went ahead after the afternoon stream ended, and got this in place. I will share my screen, and I will build. Excuse me. And in a second, once the build completes, I'll run it. I'll just pull this panel up a little bit, run the app, and I'll share the URL to the landing page for this product in the chat here. So let's load this up, pull it over here. I'm already signed in, so that's great. And we'll click on a townsfolk. And these two, I believe, I generated with stats. So here we go. And we can see that Griselda has a strength of 12, dex 8, constitution of 11, int and wisdom are both fairly low, and charisma is about average. So we can go back to the list. And if we take a look at one of the older ones, we'll see that I'll put a button to roll the stats here. So we're going to do that. And I also want to, on the stats display, when we roll a new NPC, when we roll the dice and just randomize everything, that's okay. But I think I want to let users re-roll the stats and just the stats so that we keep the other stuff that was selected. But I think being able to re-roll these game stats is a good idea. And as much as I like this layout for how the stats are displaying, especially when we bring it over this way, or when we shrink our screen a little bit, when we get down to a mobile view, it's taking up way too much space. Like, I want to have as much of this text stuff visible as I can possibly get it. So I need to come up with a better way of displaying these things. You can really see how unfriendly it is to a mobile user when we look at one of the more detailed characters. This is, in my opinion, not fantastic. So I'm going to want to figure out a better way of showing these stats on the main screens, I think. So I'm going to keep this on screen here. Not necessarily on screen, but I'm going to keep it where it's at. And back to list. Let's take a look at new NPC. That's all right. Yeah, we really need to tighten this up and have it use up way, way, way less space than it is right now. So, what if now? Unfortunately, I do have some level of hot reload enabled in VS Code now, but it's still not great. And I noticed that when I'm working in the styling, when I make changes out here, I have to stop the app and recompile it still, and that's all right. That's fine. But let's take a look at these elements here. Now, obviously, they need to shrink a little bit vertically. The secondary ones need to shrink significantly vertically, and I want to bump the font sizes on the actual numbers and maybe reduce the font sizes on the headings. So I think that's the first thing I'm going to try to do. Pardon me, goodness. All right, so our secondary stat, we can bring this down. It's at 4 right now. I'm going to bring it down to 2.5 rem. I think the padding of 0.25 is okay. I'm going to take the font size for the heading from 1.25 down to 0.8. The value for the secondary stat, I'm going to bring it up to 1.1. And I'm going to do the same thing for the ability score. So the heading, let's take that to 0.8. Take the ability score to 1.1. And I'm going to take the modifier from 0.75, I think, to 0.9. So let's save. And that's not going to trigger the hot reload. So why don't I come out to here and just touch this somewhere. Save. Save again. And see if we can refresh over on my other monitor. No changes. So I am going to have to stop and rebuild the UI. That's okay. No big deal. Not the end of the world. It's a little annoying, but it's not the end of the world. All right. Rerun the server. And if somebody from Microsoft who is an expert on Blazor development ever sees this video and can recommend a way for me to fix this so that it does work with CSS, like if it's something I'm doing wrong, just email me, please. All right, that didn't do anything. I do have to rebuild the Blazor client. And I might be running into trouble where Safari doesn't dump its cached style sheets. But we know how to handle that now. And I can always use Edge if I have to. All right. And we'll refresh over here. I'll pop this back to the main screen. Come here. Let's take a look at Alara. Yeah, that's still not it. So to get around this, where I know I've changed the CSS and I know I've rebuilt, when I'm using Safari, you open up the developer tools and you open up the network tab and you make sure this disable caches checkmark is there. And then what that does is that forces a reload of all of the resources from the server. So here's that. And we can see that I've reloaded all kinds of style sheets, and we see that we've reloaded the Game Tools Blazor Client Styles.css, which is a special style sheet that's built at compile time by Blazor. Let's open up Alara again. And that's a little bit more reasonable. That's actually significantly more reasonable. Now, unfortunately, we're going to have to keep twiddling with the CSS, but I don't actually mind the way that seems to be, or I don't mind the way this is working at all. But we still need to compress it in terms of both vertical space and in horizontal space, because I think I want to take these and bump them up into here. Now I don't want to get too compressed in terms of the font sizes and stuff, because my old eyes, if I'm using a phone, my eyes are going to have a heck of a time being able to see those things at a glance. Excuse me. So, what if instead of doing it horizontally like this, we come over here and do something more like, well, the first thing I want to try is the game stats. We're going to flex. Instead of a column, we're going to go to a row. And then the stats container, this is row. Let's take a look at the structure here. Stats container. I think this should also be a row. Now we'll make the ability score as a column. Take that out. Get rid of the width. But I think I'm going to do it via comment. There we go. Now the flex direction on an individual ability score, let's make it a row. Set the justify comment to flex start. Save that. We'll leave this stuff as is. Actually, you know what? We're going to go font size 1, 1, and 1. Get rid of that. Save all of that stuff. Secondary stats. Flex direction. We're going to make this a row. Justify content. Flex start. Make this 1. Make the value on our secondary stats 1. Save. Stop. Rebuild. rebuild is done. Hit this. We're running. Now, this is probably going to look absolutely hideous on first attempt. Oh yeah, that's gross. That's horrific. That's absolutely horrific. But let's see what we can do here. Pardon me. I also see that we've lost the, the font size on H3 going down to 0.1 rem isn't going to do anything for me. I need to go to 1 rem. Okay. Now, let's get rid of these on the secondary stats, the width and height. Let's 86 those. So those go bye-bye. And we're going to do the same thing on the ability score definition. Those go away. And let's see here. Let's comment out these borders. Do the same thing for secondary stats, for the secondary stat style. Comment those out. Save all these changes. Stop. Rebuild. And rerun. And refresh. We're still going to be hideous. I promise. But we're a whole lot less hideous than we were. So we got AC 9, init -1, hit points 3. Okay. Now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to 5e Razor here, right? And we've got Strength, Dex, and Constitution. I'm going to grab this, copy that into my clipboard here. We're going to try a 2-column layout. /div. Paste that there. Get rid of that extra closing div tag. Save. I'm going to leave the secondary stats as a row. Save. We've got that. And I might be able to come out here and just hit reload. Take a peek. Nope. That's not going to do anything for me. I'm going to have to stop, rebuild, do that dance. Okay. Nope, I pushed the wrong button. Come on, Rob. Here we are. Now we should be able to restart the app, or reload the web page rather. And it's still not there. So let's inspect the element. We'll take a look at the network and we'll force a hard reload here. And it's still not there for me. That's okay. Let's do an element inspect here. So we've got our stats container, we've got ability scores, and ability scores. Cool. And then we've got secondary stats down here. Now, what if, I bet I know what it is. So these are rows. What if we make game stats into column? All right. And game stats into column, or stats container into column? Stats container definitely needs to be a column. No, stats container needs to be rows, but I need these ability scores to be in a flex layout that's more like a column, or that's two columns. Dot flex column. Yeah. And instead of flex start, we're going to go space between. Actually, we're going to do space around. Save. Padding 0, margin. All right. Now come back over here, and around the ability scores, div class equals flex column. I'm going to grab this. Actually, I'm going to cut it to the clipboard. Come down to the bottom of the ability scores. Paste it here. Save. All right. Theoretically, hot reload has done something. Let's find out. Might have to reload. View. Yeah, it still hasn't done what I need it to do. Inspect. Let's see if it's actually loaded the updated stuff. I'll just come right here into con and inspect that element. Here we go. So we've got flex column, ability scores, and then we have a second ability scores down here. Good. Let's just collapse those. So here's this and this. Good. And we've got our secondary stats. All right. So we're going to do a hard refresh. We're going to rebuild again. We'll rerun. load this up, reload the app, take a look at Alara Voss. It's still not right. And it's because I'm a silly goose. Flex column. I should have done rows, yo. Save. Let's pop up in here. Inspect the element. Oh, come on. Come on. Inspect that element. Feature host, sidebar. Yeah. Okay, so here's the ability score. Now, flex column. Can I change this to row here and see what it does? That's what I want. Excuse me. So now we can start styling things a little bit better. But before we do that, that actually ain't bad. That is not a bad view at all. I don't mind that one little bit. So we can, and I do want to fix some of the spacing and the alignment and all of that good stuff in here too. So we know we definitely need to make that not be a flex column, but a flex row. So I'm going to change this, the name of that style right now, pop over here, whoops, make that into a flex row, save this, save that. Okay, so we know we're good there. Now the stats container, I'm not going to monkey with that yet. Ability scores. So those are good. These are a row. Justify content, flex start. And for gap, I'm going to add 0.1 rem so that I've got a gap around the items. And if that doesn't work, I'll just add padding around the H3, the value and the modifier. Now, I think I want to experiment with font weight normal for the ability score label. And I want to make the actual value bold. Save. Now, we're not going to see any changes over here yet. But I don't like the way, like the way these individual ability scores, you can kind of see how the midpoint line isn't quite right. So what I want to experiment with, whoops, and let's work with strength. So on ability score, we've got justify content, align items. Justify content is at flex start, which is what I want. Align items. Okay. Baseline, center, and I definitely wanted it center. can I add? If I take the align items away, it actually aligns them properly. Son of a gun. All right, well, that's what we're going to do. Just on the ability score rule. So you're out of here. Save. Pardon me. Now, we'll stop, rebuild. Okay. Go. Bring the UI back up. Reload the website. View. I actually don't mind that. I don't mind that one little bit. Now, it's still taking up way too much vertical space, and we've got all of this space over here. One last thing I want to do with the style sheets. Border. Solid, 1px, color accent dark, 0.5 rem radius on it. And that bold on that font, that's jarring. You know what? I think I'll let it live. I think I'll let it stay as is, but I'm going to bring the bold back on the ability score header. Pardon me. The way this weather's been changing around here has been brutal. Save. Let's bring the UI back up so that I can see it some more. I'm going to run a border around all of this, and then I'm going to apply a top border on the secondary stats here. And I'm not going to experiment with the web inspector before I do that. Now, I am going to margin right 0.2 rem. And then on the value, I'm going to do the exact, no, I'm going to do a modifier, margin left 0.2 rem. Save that. And then down under the secondary stat header, margin right 0.2 rem. Stop the app, rebuild the UI. Make my lungs calm down. And execute. Take a look at Ms. Voss. All right, not bad. However, we still have a problem with the width. Pardon me. Goodness. Let's get rid of this width 100. Save. And I want to drop that on the secondary stats. Border top. Solid 1px. Color accent dark. Actually, I think I just want to do, let me come down and remind myself what my color variables are called. Color brand main, or color accent red. Let's try that. Color accent red. Save. Bounce up to the top. Color accent red. Save. Stop. Rebuild. Now, there's a reason I'm not doing these manipulations and experiments in the element inspector in the browser, and it's because I'm going to be I change these CSS rules and stuff like that in like rapid fire, and there's no bloody way I'm going to remember which ones I changed and to what from the web inspector into my actual source code. So I would spend far more time scratching my head and cursing at myself for forgetting what I just did than just this rapid, slightly less rapid iteration that I'm doing this way. If you have the kind of memory that would allow you to remember everything that you alter in the browser tools, or you're working in an environment where a change you make inside the browser tools is immediately reflected in your actual source files, you are a what I would call a lucky duck. Okay, here we go. So that's that. It's looking a little better, but I still don't want that to take up the whole vertical space there. Now, before we go much further, let's take a look at view NPC attributes. So here's on NPC create click. Here's our stats view. And, excuse me, golly, what I think I want to do is this is create new NPC. Oh, I'm on the view NPC details view because I are a silly goose. Now, there's a couple of things I want to change up here. So we've got NPC name is there, species. So like that, I think I want to get rid of, and let's just try this just for a second, just to see how it feels. Get rid of that label. Get rid of that label. And at Vocation. That's the character vocation. Spin down here. Personality description, detailed profession. Let's take a look at how I derive that value real quick. Current NPC.profession. Let's go to the definition on that guy. Okay, perfect. Where am I? NPC details, razor, species, at profession. Save that. Now that ought to kick the Blazor stuff off. Let's take a look at manage NPCs. We're probably still going to have to network. I'm going to come over here to network and I'm going to force reload of all the source code. Take a look at Alara Voss. Alara Voss, Human Tinker. I actually really like that quite a lot. Quite an awful lot. Personality, profession, background. All right, now there's one more thing that I want to change while I'm here, and it's been something I've been thinking about, and I do want to try it. And since I'm on this screen anyway, I want to try adding it. Profession, at profession with a capital P. Background, at history. And if personality description is not empty, at what do I have access to? What properties do I have access to? Species, gender, pronouns, personality description. Loading overlay. Do I have access to current NPC? At current NPC dot add AI description, gender, gen history, personality, nature, at current NPC dot personality demeanor. Save. Now I'm going to do a full rebuild refresh on this. Just before I go much further with styling with getting those stats styled. Because as I've been working with the app and so on and so forth, I've realized that I kind of want the names of the things visible in the UI at all times. Pull my browser window back over here. Take a better look at Ms. Voss, human tinker, personality, innovative, inquisitive. Profession, age tinker. Background, acolyte. Age tinker is a little funny. What's going on there? Oh, it just randomly added the word age in there. Because sometimes Copilot is an even sillier goose than me. Profession tinker, background acolyte. I dig it. Pardon me. All right, let's get back to fixing this up. And to do so, I need to review. Okay, so game stats, we don't have a width. Flex row, we absolutely have a width. And I want to zap that. That needs to go away. Stats container, that also has a width. That needs to go away as well. Now, let's see what that did to tighten things up for us. So we'll quickly rebuild. Do, 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 do. All right, I think that's compiled. I kind of spaced for a second there, pardon me. And we'll bring this over here. No, I don't want you as big as you are. Bloop. Reload. I said bloop. All right, we still got it all squashed out like that. Let's refresh. We'll force it to reload its stuff. Okay, where's the problem? Where's my width 100? Secondary stats, width 100. I'm not confident that that is actually the problem. Let's take a look here. We'll inspect that element. So game stats. Display is flex, it's column, flex start, align item center, padding 0, margin border, border radius. Okay, it does not appear to be from that. We need to set the flex factor there, I think. Or the flex basis, rather. Flex. How about 0, 1, auto? Did that do anything for me? Nope. How about 1, 0, auto? That didn't do anything for me either. So that flex factor, you're out of here. Goodbye. All right. So, give you a sneak peek of what we're going to do this afternoon. Well, no, we're not going to do a sneak peek of what we're going to do this afternoon. We are instead Stats container ability scores, column space around. I'm going to come over to the stats view 5e razor. And I'm going to add one more ability score, or one more ability score as div. All right. Now, before I do that, just so that I can keep my brain in the right place, we've got that. Good. Ability scores, there's a column, one column, two column. I'm going to add one more column. No, I'm not. I'm going to add a button. Class equals. We're not going to even style the button yet. And we're not going to hook any stuff up to it. Button. I'm just going to say reroll stats. Whoops. And I'm going to grab this button, copy it, drop it down here. Save. Stop. I said, no, not disconnect. Stop. Silly thing. Rebuild. That's not going to do anything yet, but I want to get the button put in now so that I can see how it affects the visual flow of how all of this stuff looks on the screen. And then once I've got these things placed where I want them, or at least placed in a way that satisfies my silliness, then we'll talk about hooking up the event handlers and getting the styling and everything like that. We might do a little bit of styling. So reroll stats, that's good. Now, before we go any further with this, let's actually do some CSS manipulation on that guy. I'm going to just pull this over here like so that we can see it, because now it's taking up way too much horizontal width and I don't love it. So this button, flex direction row. Okay, display flex, border radius. Yeah, so far so good. But I want to height 100%. Width, let's say 2 rem for now. For now. Reroll stats. 2 rem is too small. Oh, geez. Yeah, that's not what I wanted to do at all. Let's get rid of those. Get rid of that. Goodness. I actually want to come in here on the button itself. You let me edit the HTML. All right. Style. And I'm just going to inject an inline style here. Height, 100%. That didn't do a darn thing for me. Not a thing. Let's just delete all of that stuff. All right. We'll play with that. My goal here is to get this button to use up all of this vertical space and maybe just like a little bit of width. And then I'm going to drop an icon in there. Save. Now, before I drop this session, let's go back to the list and take a look at one of the older NPCs that hasn't got stats and see how that looks. Roll stats. Cool. Now, I am going to say we have made some decent progress. Not a ton of it, but some decent progress. Now, these old personalities and stuff like that, I'm going to have to add some code to not show where those values don't exist. But we'll get there. I'll go back to the list. We know we're good on all these more recent things. View that. Paranoid, inquisitive. Paranoid but inquisitive. Well, I suppose. What was that? Experienced but confident. There's the Dunning-Kruger effect for you. Mason, retired. I don't know why it's got retired twice. Oh, that's right. I can get rid of that. Or I can fix that up. Yeah, I like the way this is shaking out. Now, once I've got, well, this button can stay as is, but I'm going to get it to fill that area. And once I've got this button styled the way I want it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this block and I'm going to try and tuck it up in here and bring all of the content below, like the appearance and stuff like that, back up underneath the basic stuff. I might fix this up a little bit so that it takes up less horizontal space. I might put height and weight on their own lines. I might remove this text here and just do a pronoun display. So there's a good bunch of detail-y iteration stuff to get these stats to fit. But I think this work that I'm doing is going to be 100% worth it by the time I've got it where I want it. And yeah, I'm quite happy with the way this is shaken up. And then once we've got things placed, I'll probably do that CSS and the pixel tickling in between sessions. But once we've got that, we're going to connect event handlers and we're going to plumb the event handlers out to that method that we exposed on the Townsfolk Manager that lets us generate only these stats. So when they hit re-roll, it's not going to re-roll their appearance or personality or anything else. It's going to actually use those to populate the stats. or to adjust the rolls that we make when we're generating a character's stats. So until this afternoon, take care of yourselves, eat some lunch. If you're in the southeast, um, try and not uh, fall victim to what looks like some wintry weather coming our way. And I will see you all next time. Take care and happy coding.